Let me tell you about 5 simple drinks that you can add to your daily routine today and start reversing your fatty liver fast. But these drinks don't just help you with fatty liver, they have scientific evidence behind them to also help you with insulin resistance and high blood pressure. And they also help with inflammation, so they can help reverse other conditions that often run together with fatty liver disease. I'm Dr. Leonid Kim. I am board certified in obesity and internal medicine, and I specialize in metabolic health and longevity. And the first drink you have to consider is green tea. Now, green tea is a powerhouse of a drink, and it has so many benefits. Benefits ranging from boosting your brain function, and it helps support your immune system. And when it comes to fatty liver specifically, what makes green tea special is it's full of catechins, which is a very potent antioxidant. So these antioxidants are natural substances that protect your cells from damage. And they do so by neutralizing free radicals, which are unstable molecules that damage cells. And this damage eventually leads to inflammation and aging and many of our chronic diseases, like fatty liver or diabetes and heart disease. So these catechin antioxidants that we get from green tea, they keep your cells healthy and they serve as your body's defense system, and they help keep everything in balance. And as we're learning more and more about fatty liver disease, what we now know is there's a huge component of inflammation that drives the progression of the disease. So reducing that free radical damage and inflammation is one of the mechanisms by which green tea can help reverse fatty liver. But there's another mechanism. Green tea has also been found to block certain digestive enzymes, like pancreatic lipase, which is an enzyme that is responsible for digestion and absorption of fats. So by blocking that lipase enzyme, green tea essentially lowers the absorption of fat from your meals, which can lead to weight loss. And that's why it makes sense why in so many cultures around the world, it's encouraged to drink tea, especially green tea, after heavy meals, because that helps you absorb less calories from fat. And in fact, we now have evidence to support the thousands of years of tradition. So there's a meta-analysis of 26 randomized controlled trials that found that green tea use shows significant decline in body weight. And green tea administration also reduced waist circumference in trials that had subjects consume at least 800 milligrams of green tea per day. And that's important because waist circumference is a major marker of insulin resistance and fatty liver. And when you break it down to studies looking specifically at fatty liver, we have this double-blind, placebo-controlled randomized trial that found that taking 500 milligrams of green tea for 90 days shows significant reductions in liver markers like ALT and AST. And there was another meta-analysis of 15 studies that looked specifically at liver health that showed that tea drinkers had a significant reduction in the risk of not just liver steatosis, which is fat buildup in the liver, but also showed a risk reduction in other liver diseases like cirrhosis and liver cancer called hepatocellular carcinoma. Now, this meta-analysis was not based on randomized controlled trials, but mostly on observational studies, which are basically studies that follow a group of people over time to see if certain behaviors or dietary habits were associated with certain outcomes. Like, do people that drink green tea regularly have a lower risk of fatty liver disease? Which there was definitely a trend in those studies to support that. But just as a side note, we do have to be careful with these observational studies, since we have to account for a certain bias in the studies called the healthier user bias, meaning that we don't know for sure if it was the green tea specifically that helped with liver disease, because people that drink green tea regularly could also be doing other things that promote good health, like optimizing their nutrition or exercising regularly. So I'm not saying we need to discount those studies, but we do have to keep that in mind. And by the way, if you drink green tea regularly, let me know in the comments which tea specifically that you drink and what's your favorite brand, because there's a lot to choose from and different varieties have their own subtle health benefits. Okay, so with green tea, the best time to drink it is after meals, especially after heavy meals. But the next drink you need to know about is something you drink before meals, especially before you consume processed carbohydrates or foods high in sugar. And that drink is apple cider vinegar. Now, vinegar contains acetic acid, and acetic acid can help by shutting down some of your digestive enzymes like alpha amylase, which then results in less sugar and less starches breaking down into glucose in your bloodstream. But that's not all. This acetic acid also encourages our muscles to be more efficient in clearing excess sugars in our blood. And what that does is we end up with a blunted glucose spike and less insulin release. And it's incredibly important to try to blunt those glucose spikes as much as we can, because it's these spikes is what keeps us on the sugar roller coaster, and it's what makes us crave more sugar or come down hard after heavy meals. And there's so many other benefits. Apple cider vinegar is full of antioxidants and probiotics, which will also help with the inflammatory aspects of fatty liver disease. And we have some decent evidence to support this, like the systematic review and meta-analysis of 9 studies that show that apple cider vinegar consumption significantly reduced plasma glucose, reduced hemoglobin A1C, and serum triglycerides in patients with type 2 diabetes. And improving your glucose control and insulin resistance is one of the most important things you can do to reverse your fatty liver. Now, the best way to consume this is to mix 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in at least 8 or 10 ounces of water. And what I recommend to my patients is to drink it about 15 minutes before their meals. Now, it's very important to dilute it correctly, and it's important to drink it with a straw, because otherwise it can damage the enamel of your teeth. Also, I would not drink more than 1 of those per day. And I would be careful if you're taking any diabetes medications, as drinking vinegar like that can lower blood sugars and it can cause low potassium levels. Okay, the next drink you have to know about has been used for its medicinal properties for over 3,000 years. And it's ginger, and more specifically, ginger tea. Now, ginger has over 400 bioactive compounds. That includes amino acids, and it has raw fiber, and it has phytosterols. And ginger has at least 40 antioxidant compounds, as well as multiple vitamins like nicotinic acid and vitamin A. Now, these active compounds in ginger enhance the antioxidant defense systems, and they reduce inflammation that can lead to advanced stages of fatty liver, like fibrosis or even cirrhosis. And there's a randomized placebo-controlled trial that found that ginger supplementation for 12 weeks shows significant reduction in liver markers, as well as improvement in insulin resistance, and improvement in hepatic steatosis, or the degree of excess fat in the liver. And there's also a meta-analysis of 4 randomized control trials that included 177 patients that found that ginger supplementation was associated with significantly reduced liver markers like ALT, as well as improved markers of insulin resistance and reduced body mass index, or BMI. So if you want to add ginger tea to your regimen, you can either buy already prepared bags of ginger tea, which I guess technically it's not a tea, because it's not made of tea leaves. But the easiest way and the best way to prepare it is to take a few slices of fresh ginger and pour boiling water over it, and you just let it sit for 10 minutes before drinking it. Some people like to add honey to it or lemon juice for taste. So there's tons of ways to prepare it. And by the way, ginger doesn't just help you with your fatty liver or diabetes. It can also help you with your blood pressure, and it's a natural remedy for nausea. Some people use it to boost their immune system, so there's lots of therapeutic properties in just one drink. And if you want to learn more about all the amazing benefits of ginger, I made a separate video on that earlier, and I'll post a link to that in the description below. Now, for many of the coffee drinkers out there, you'd be happy to know that coffee has actually been shown to reduce the risk of fatty liver disease. So there's no consensus on how coffee mechanistically helps with fatty liver, but coffee is rich in antioxidants, and it's also rich in polyphenols, which can help with inflammation, and it can help with damage from free radicals. And when it comes to evidence, there's a meta-analysis of 11 epidemiological studies that showed that regular coffee consumption is significantly associated with a reduced risk of fatty liver disease. And it's also significantly associated with a decreased risk of liver fibrosis in people that already have fatty liver. And last but definitely not least, we need to talk about hibiscus tea. And hibiscus tea is another drink that is just packed with antioxidants like flavonoids and polyphenols and anthocyanins. And given how much inflammation and oxidative damage plays a role in many of our chronic conditions, it makes sense that hibiscus tea doesn't just help us with fatty liver, but it also helps us with high blood pressure and diabetes and cholesterol. And we have a few small studies to support that. So first, we have this small randomized control trial that showed that consumption of hibiscus tea extract for 12 weeks reduced body weight. It reduced waist to hip ratio, and it improved liver steatosis, or liver fat. And there's another study that looked at elderly women with metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is basically just a cluster of health conditions like high blood pressure and high blood sugars and excess abdominal fat, all conditions that run together with fatty liver disease. And what this study found was the group of women that took 2 grams of hibiscus tea twice a day had a significant decrease in body weight, a decrease in systolic and diastolic blood pressure, as well as a decrease in blood glucose. And the treatment group also showed a significant decrease in cortisol levels, which is probably the result of improved inflammation with hibiscus, which once again, treating underlying inflammation is key in successfully reversing fatty liver disease. Now, for most people, it takes a lot more than just a drink to fully reverse your fatty liver disease. So if you'd like to learn more, here's a video I made about all the things you can do to reverse fatty liver disease quickly. Or you can check out this video where I talk about the best supplements you may want to consider in treating your fatty liver disease. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.